Okay, this will be recorded and posted on YouTube. We got a lot to talk about this week when it comes to the astrology. It's a very, very busy week. We got an eclipse coming at the end of the week. Saturn just retrograde back into Pisces, where he's going to be at for the next 5 months. We got Mars in Libra and Jupiter in Cancer moving into a square with one another. Happy Moon Day. And we have Mercury moving into Virgo. So we just got a lot going on. There's a lot to cover. So I'm really excited to tap in with you guys today. For those of you that are in the States, what's today? Labor Day? Happy Labor Day. I don't know. My patriotism is a little weak right now. I'm not feeling very patriotic right now living in this country. But for those of you that do celebrate, happy Labor Day. And for the rest of us, it's a day off for the most of us, right? So if you do have a job, enjoy your day off today, okay? But really excited to dive into the astrology of the week ahead. And it's just a busy week. So, what we're gonna do today. What's up, Bubba? How are you, handsome little man? So, what we're gonna do today, we are going to do an overview of the week, and I'm going to talk about kind of like key transits, and then we're going to do like a play-by-play breakdown. We're going to look at the moon going throughout the days, and we'll talk a little bit about the eclipses. I am going to be doing a live, and I'm going to post it to YouTube on the eclipses exclusively. This week, I will be doing a live on this upcoming eclipse in Pisces that we have. It's eclipse season, y'all. Welcome. Hope you guys are buckled in and ready for the ride. It's gonna be a really wild, exciting, hopefully expansive, hopefully not too difficult or challenging or strenuous eclipse for the collective. But I don't know, y'all. I don't know. It's looking a little messy. So, all right. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So what's the first thing we want to talk about? Well, today we start off with the moon in Sag. The moon's about to go into Capricorn, but let's talk a little bit about Mercury going into Virgo tomorrow. So Mercury is wrapping up in the sign of Leo, and he's going to be moving into Virgo. And he's been in Leo for God knows how long. It's felt like forever. Because why? He had a Mercury retrograde in Leo a few weeks ago, right? So Mercury takes about 3 weeks to retrograde. Typically, it takes him about 3 weeks to move through a sign. But since he retrogrades in a sign and he retrograded in Leo and he stayed in that sign throughout his entire retrograde, we're gonna add an additional like month and a half on to hit the length of time that he stays in a sign, right? So because Mercury's been in Leo for the last few months, for the last 2 months roughly, there's gonna be a tremendous shift in energy when it comes to Mercury things. So Mercury in Virgo, the sign of Virgo is about health, is about productivity, it's about your job, it's about, your day-to-day routines, your habits. It's about how you help others, how you serve others, right? It's a sign ruled by Mercury. So when we're talking about Virgo, we're talking about our digestive health, we're talking about our spleen, our pancreas, our stomach, right? We're talking about the way that we dissect things, the way that we look into things and discern truth from deception, the way we discern what is good for us and what is bad for us, the way that we organize or structure our day. These are all things associated with the sign of Virgo. So Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. So Mercury is in his home, or what we say in astrology, we say that Mercury is in his domicile and his Virgo. All that means is that he's comfortable there. So all of Mercury's manifestations where Mercury's energy is enhanced, right? You want to think about planets when they're in their rulership or when they're exalted. You want to think of planets being like in the territory or in the environment that they thrive in, that they're comfortable in, right? It's like you put a fish in water, it's going to do what it does, right? You put a bird in air, it's going to do what it does, right? But if you put a bird in the forest, you put a bird in water, it's not going to function to the utmost of its capability. So that's what we get with Mercury and Virgo. We get an increase in functionality when it comes to mercurial processes. So this can look like, You're able to make decisions a lot clearer. You're feeling more focused. You're feeling more inspired. You're feeling more organized. You know, Mercury and Virgo, Mercury moving into Virgo this week, like tomorrow, I also think is gonna call us to like clean up our life and like organize things and like, you know, get your dishes done, do your laundry. We've already been in that energy, but we're gonna feel it even more so now that Mercury's moving into Virgo, okay? So the pros of Mercury and Virgo is organization, is structure, is, you know, feeling more mentally stable, I think, as well. That's another thing with Mercury in the sign of his rulership. You know, Mercury, ruler of the mind and the anxiety in our nervous system. It has a lot to do with, you know, anxiety and stuff like that. For those of you that have Virgo placements, you know, anxiety. But when Mercury moves into Virgo, our nervous system is a little bit more calm. It's a little bit more balanced. We're feeling a little bit more grounded and stuff like that. So that's really good. The downside of Mercury's moving into Virgo, okay? Um, Mercury in Virgo in of itself, there's really no downside. But it's the fact that Mercury is co-present with the South Node, and Mercury and the Sun and the South Node are all together in the sign of Virgo now. So the thing that's a little rough about Mercury and Virgo, let's talk about it, okay? Over the next 3 weeks, because Mercury's going to be in Virgo for like the next 3 weeks, throughout September. Because Mercury's co-present with the South Node, we're talking about South Node energy, you know, in relationship with Mercury. We're talking about loss. We're talking about hardship. We're talking about weakness. We're talking about a draining or an exhausting of energy. Louie love from France. Oh, thank you. Welcome. What time is it over there in France right now? I woke up with like some weird, some like throat thing going. I don't know what's going on, but oh yeah, sickness. That's another thing. So with Mercury and the South Node together, sickness and illness with the Sun, Mercury, South Node together, people getting sick or getting ill. Oh, it's 9 p.m. over there. Cool. Oh, you guys have a 9 hour difference. It's 12 o'clock over here. We just started. People getting sick, Mercury and South. So where was I at? Mercury and South Node together. People getting sick, people getting ill, people feeling a little weak, people feeling a little exhausted. Job loss is going to be a theme this season. Going into this upcoming eclipse, we're gonna feel it throughout, you know, the next couple. It's gonna be just the next 4 weeks throughout this eclipse season. People losing jobs, or people losing clients, or people deciding that they don't want to work in a certain place anymore, that they want to quit, or there's something about the routine, there's something about the way they serve others, there's something about the work that they do, our productivity. We don't want to do it anymore. We're done with it. We want to let it go. We want to purge it. We want to release it. Our time with that thing, with that job, you know, serving people in that type of way, that lack of boundaries, that dealing with a difficult client, and you're just like, I'm done with this client. Baby, nip it in the butt with this eclipse. Or okay, with this with these eclipses coming up, with this lunar eclipse in Pisces coming up. Okay, like let this eclipse season free you from work that is no longer in alignment, or even like it doesn't even have to be work. It could be habits, it could be routines, it can just be some element of your day to day that is like no longer nourishing you or is no longer fulfilling you anymore. Well, Mercury co-present with the South Node is like, okay, let's release that thing and let's like let that thing go. Okay. What I will say though is that Mercury and because Saturn's also gone back into Pisces and Mercury's going to be moving into Virgo tomorrow. This is going to be we're like with Mercury going into Virgo, Saturn and retrograding back into Pisces, we're feeling a little bit more emotional. We're feeling a little bit more sensitive. We're feeling a little bit more delicate. Let me open this up. Get my lighting here. We're feeling a little bit more emotional, a little more sensitive. We're feeling a little more delicate. We're feeling also maybe a little, you know, queasy, a little uncomfortable. We're feeling a little uneasy, especially if you're a mutable sign. If you're a Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius, you might be feeling a little funky, you know, with Mercury going into Virgo. And I think this is because we're being brought back to this Virgo Pisces axis that has a lot to do with, you know, the people that we can't save, you know, our self-destructive habits and behaviors. The people that we know that we kind of need to let go of, or the people that, are not going to be coming with us into the next timeline. Like, there's a little bit of like grief, there's a little bit of sadness, there's a little bit of like having to confront reality. Okay. I think this is going to be a big theme this week overall, and I'll talk about it when we get to Saturn retrograde back to Pisces, but I think the big theme this week overall. Gilbert. Oh, it's just like, okay. I thought he had red on his foot for some reason. Um, there's something about this week where, we're having to get like confront reality in some type of way, or, something is hitting us smack in the face, and it's like it's a hard stop. It's like a no. It's like this isn't going to work anymore. It's like this has run its course. It's like, you know, timing just isn't lining up in some type of way, or we're feeling like we're wasting time with something. It could be a habit, it could be with a relationship, it could be just something. There's something that we feel like we got to cut off. There's something that's just no longer serving us. So there's something that's feeling very emotionally burdensome and very emotionally heavy. And we have to like take note of our relationship with that thing. We got to ask ourselves, like, is it best for me to keep engaging with this thing? It's costing me so much sadness. It's costing me so much grief. It's costing me so much frustration. It's wasting my energy. It's like that we're not getting back, we're putting in some type of way. So, there's going to be kind of like these reflections, these really deep reflections that we're making this week. Okay. Um, and I do think it has a lot to do with Saturn retrograding back into the sign of Pisces. I feel like Saturn going back into Pisces is giving the mutable signs again, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, a little bit of a reality check, a little bit of a wake up call, a little bit of like, oh, it's like, because you know what? Because what happened, right? Saturn went into Aries, and he's like, "All right, mutable signs, I'm gonna let y'all be. I'm gonna like let you do your thing. And I'm gonna see how well you do while I'm in Aries and I'm starting my work on the cardinal signs, right? But now that Saturn's going back to Pisces, it's like dad is coming back home to see what the kids have been up to in the house. And dad's like, all right, what have you been up to? What have you been working on? Have you been staying consistent? Have you been honoring your commitments? Have you been keeping up with your promises? Have you been keeping your room clean? Have you been, right? And he comes back, and if the house is a mess, if the house is wrecked, right? Or if you haven't been up on your P's and Q's, then Saturn going back into Pisces is going to be a little bit of a reality check or a wake up call, especially for mutable signs. So, what you may find this week is like you're recommitting to certain structures, you're recommitting to certain promises that you made to Saturn over the last 2.5 years. You're recommitting to being a little bit more disciplined. You're recommitting to be a little bit more controlled, right? Saturn going back into Pisces. But Mercury going into Virgo is helping us with this though, right? We got to understand. A lot of us, the Mercury retrograde, we lost our shit during the Mercury retrograde, okay? We were not doing well during the Mercury retrograde. The Mercury retrograde just had us feeling a little reckless, maybe a little wild, or it was a little challenging, that Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo, right? Because I think the Leo season, right? Cancer and Leo season, the luminary seasons, the seasons of the sun and the moon, they're kind of like about like having fun and like letting loose and just like experiencing life and stuff. Well, now that Mercury's moving into Virgo, Saturn's going into has retrograde back to Pisces. We're entering the Pisces Virgo eclipses. It's time. It's like time to get back to work. It's like time to get back to business. It's like summer is over, summer is ending. And we need to honor that. We need to understand that we are in transition, we're moving in a new direction, and we're really going to feel that beginning this week, I think, with Mercury going into Virgo, and us dealing with our first lunar eclipse in Pisces. Okay. Gonna be really excited. I'm excited about the eclipse. Who's excited? I'm excited about it. So another thing I want to talk about, and then I'm going to go into more detail about these transits that we're kind of talking about vaguely right now. But we have Jupiter in Cancer at 18, and Mars in Libra. Um, Mars is, I believe, at 16 right now. Let me go back to today. He's at 16. Yeah, he's at 16. Well, we have Jupiter and Mars moving into a square this week. All right. Jupiter and Mars are going to move into a square. And this is a very Jupiter in Cancer, 18 degrees, Mars in Libra, 18 degrees. When Jupiter and Mars are squaring each other, all right, we have Jupiter, the planet of hope, expansion, opportunity, benevolence, compassion, unconditional love, self-sacrifice, morals, what is the good thing to do, what is the right thing to do. That's all Jupiter. Jupiter is like righteousness, justice, truth, right? Like Jupiter, he has like a moral obligation to do something. Where Mars in Libra, Mars is like the planet of anger and rage and attack. And Mars in Libra is also about justice. Jupiter in Cancer is more about what we emotionally feel, like what emotionally feels good to us, but it also has a lot to do with like our traditions and our morals when it comes to Cancer things, the things that we're emotionally invested in, the things that we care about, the things that we want to protect. I think Jupiter in Cancer has a lot to do with what we protect, what we want to protect right now. We want to protect our family, we want to protect our land, we want to protect our legacy, we want to protect our rights. There's all these conversations that we're having around protecting something. Well, that Jupiter in Cancer squaring Mars in Libra, that's an attack on like justice, an attack on rights, and that's like going to war for our beliefs and fighting for what we believe in. So I think this is gonna be a week and I think there's even it's like even happening today. I think there's like protests and stuff going on today. But this is gonna be a week where there's a lot of protesting and a lot of like standing up for your rights and a lot of like addressing injustice and like calling people out and things like this. And because Jupiter's in Cancer, this could be around family. This can be around emotions that you have a lot of like or relationships that you're very emotionally invested in. Because Mars and Libra has been about recalibration in our relationships, right? Like holding others accountable, seeking justice, seeking fairness, seeking equality in our relationships, right? That's what that Mars and Libra has been about. But that Jupiter Mars square this week, this can be about, you getting in an argument with a spouse around beliefs, around morals, around expectations, around things that are moving forward. This can be about, you realizing like, wait a minute, I have this future vision, which is Jupiter. Jupiter has a lot to do with our future vision, and it doesn't align with this relationship, Jupiter square Mars, right? Or this could even be this moment that you have with someone or this realization that you have within yourself around like, okay, because Jupiter square Mars is also it's very inspiring, it's very passionate, it's very motivating, it's a very motivating square when Jupiter and Mars. Jupiter and Mars are both planets that love to do things. They're very action oriented, especially when they're in cardinal signs, right? And so this Jupiter square Mars, you may feel very impassioned to get started on something or to begin something this week, especially around Thursday when they square each other exactly. Okay. So I think we need to lean into the Jupiter Mars square, but just you kind of want to watch out this week for getting into arguments or fights or just like explosive anger or just like extreme emotions, especially like emotions of passion, emotions of desire because of the Jupiter Mars square. Jupiter is going to be expanding and kind of instigating, I even think, some of Mars's things where Mars is kind of like antagonizing Jupiter, right? So that Jupiter Mars square, I think, is another important thing this week. It's another important factor this week. Also, one more thing, and I'll talk about it when I go over the weekly transits, but in more detail. But Mercury, upon ingressing in Virgo tomorrow on September 2nd, Mercury is going to square Uranus. Okay. So, I think we are in, especially the beginning part of this week. Um, Tuesday, Wednesday, the second, the third. We're in for like a lot of shocks, a lot of surprises. And, you may go into work tomorrow, those of you that do have a job, and there may be something that some piece of information or some shocking experience, or even something can break or something can malfunction or someone could not show up or someone could get fired, right? Something like that could happen tomorrow as Mercury goes into Virgo and immediately squares Uranus in Gemini. Okay. What's also really interesting is that, Mercury, as he moves into Virgo and squares Uranus, he's also forming a finger of God, or he's forming it's like a two quincunx and a sextile. It's like a quincunx and a sextile formation with with Neptune in Aries and Pluto in Aquarius. So, there's something I think where Mercury this week he's undergoing a lot of pressure and he kind of has to move through this first, couple degrees of Virgo before he kind of settles into an energy it's a little bit more balanced. But just keep in mind that Mercury is getting impacted by Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus tomorrow specifically, and then we're gonna feel that energy kind of bleeding into Wednesday and Thursday. So we're going to fill it, September 2nd on Tuesday, and it's going to be kind of in the air going until the 3rd and the 4th, Wednesday and Thursday this week. Okay. So, that Mercury quincunx Pluto, that can be a deep moment of psychological or emotional revelation and transformation. And there could be something very deep or something very uncomfortable that comes up. There could be a piece of information, there could be a conversation that you have, there could be just some kind of like emotional ish, that gunk that comes up tomorrow with the Mercury quincunx Pluto and Aquarius. And then that Mercury quincunx Neptune, that could be like a delusion, like some kind of fantasy, some kind of illusion, some kind of way that you've been gaslighting yourself, a reality check or wake up call around that, or some kind of like, wait a minute, actually, this isn't what I thought it was, right? But these could also be really profound positive experiences. These can also be like you feel very creative, you feel very inspired, you feel like you want to transform or change some part of your life, which is going to be about that Mercury and Virgo, about organizing or restructuring, even recommitting to something. So, a lot of people are feeling inspired right now. So this is the thing. I don't want everyone to get swept away with a lot of the negativity messaging, that you may be getting from other places. I think this is a beautiful period to like really blueprint something and plan something, or to prepare for some kind of launch in a few months, especially before next year. So, I think this is a great period for kind of like experimentation and kind of like figuring things out. But I will say, with Saturn going back into Pisces, there's some kind of karmic lessons, or there's some things that are going to return from the past, um, that are like, that we have to like deal with. Saturn makes us deal with things. So Saturn is a planet of responsibility and obligation. And Saturn, he like gives you work to do that you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. Oh my God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And sometimes it's like it feels like you're pulling teeth with Saturn's work. Okay. But just keep in mind, if something like that comes back, right? Something from the past comes back that you got to deal with, that you're like, oh my God, I got to work through this. Oh my God, I got to deal with this burden. Oh my God, I got to carry this for a little bit longer. I got to struggle through this a little bit longer. Just understand it's tied to the lessons that you should be, or the lesson that you should be learning, lessons you should be learning with Saturn and Pisces. Okay. Especially if you're a mutable sign, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, right? Another thing, this is one of the things I want to talk about real quick while we have quite a few people here. Another thing I want you guys to understand, okay? Even if your big three are not an immutable sign, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, you may have a Mercury, you may have a Jupiter, you may have a Saturn, right? You may have a Venus or a Mars that's in a mutable sign, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sagittarius. So what does this mean? That means the planets that you have in your mutable sign, in those mutable houses of yours, right? The mutable planets that you have are getting eclipsed, so they're going to get eclipsed, so they're going to get hit by the eclipse, right? So sometimes, we can think like, oh, because my big three, my sun, moon, and rising are not in a mutable sign, right? Like, or because, you know I don't have those placements, we could think that we're not going to get impacted or affected by the eclipses. But you should look at your whole chart. Look at your whole chart, and especially the original seven planets, the main seven. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus. Look at those. And if you have one of those planets in a mutable sign and they're getting hit by these eclipses, right? They're in the middle degrees of the eclipses. That part of your chart and that particular planet and the things pertaining to that planet can get impacted or get eclipsed. I think if you have Saturn or Mars in a mutable sign, right? If you have Saturn or Mars in Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, this can be a very destructive, or a very chaotic, or a very malevolent, or even dangerous eclipse for you. Because why? You have the dangerous planets, what we in traditional astrology call the evil planets, right? Saturn and Mars getting hit by the eclipses. So you can have a more of an intense, more extreme, intense, eclipse experience, even if you don't have your sun, moon, your rising in a mutable sign, because your Mars or your Saturn that's in a mutable sign is getting eclipsed. So I highly recommend everybody take a look at their chart. and take a look if you have anything around, 18 degrees of Pisces and Virgo, and anything in that middle decan of Virgo, from 10 degrees to 20 degrees, or of any mutable sign, Virgo and Pisces especially though, because you are going to be getting eclipsed, or that planet's getting eclipsed, right? And you can prepare yourself. You can prepare yourself for, for some kind of experience, and you can kind of take a look at your life and see what's trending in that direction around that area of your life, around the things pertaining to that planet, right? To kind of understand or foresee where it could happen, right? So let's say you have Mars in Pisces and your Mars is getting eclipsed, right? Well, that Mars getting eclipsed can show up as a lot of different things. It can show up as issues with men. It can show up as a car accident. It can show up as something catching on fire. It can show up as some kind of inflammation. It can show up as an issue with your sun. It can show up as an issue with like your blood, right? It doesn't have to, or it cannot show up at all. It just really depends, right? If this happens to be a good year for you. But keep it in mind. Okay, if you have Mars in Pisces and your Mars is getting eclipsed, well, what's going on with the male relationships in your life? What's going on with the men in your life, right? What's going on with your car and the vehicles in your life? What's going on with technology in your life, right? Are you dealing with any health issues? You're dealing with any inflammation issues? You're dealing with any headaches, any blood issues? Because that's where it can possibly show up so that you can prepare, you know? What if you only have your rising in Pisces Virgo? Well, then your rising is only getting hit by the eclipses, right? So what I'm talking about is like, identifying what is getting hit by the eclipses. So you can prepare yourself or anticipate, kind of guesstimate a little bit. Okay, where is this eclipse going to, where are these eclipses showing up? What axis is it showing up at, right? The reason why I also include Gemini and Sagittarius in there is because when the nodes square planets that you have, you can go through something. You can experience something. You can, have an experience. Someone said, "Hi, Louie, polite question. Please, should we use our Vedic or tropical chart?" You can use whatever system you're comfortable with. I use both of them. I primarily do astrology in Western though, because I live in the West, and most people in the West do Western astrology, and that's what I know. Mostly that's where I started. So but yeah, so so I just wanted to give you guys that little gem so that even if you don't have your big three and immutable sign, you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to be getting hit by the eclipses, right? Well, guess what? You might have your Saturn or your Jupiter or your Mars or your Venus or your Mercury in there, right? And if you have one of your personal planets getting hit by the eclipses, then that should be an area of your life, and things pertaining to that planet are things that you should be watching out for. Okay. All right. So what's the other thing that we got going on this week? Okay, so let's talk about Saturn going back to Pisces. Okay, I wanna continue that conversation. So we talked about Mercury going into Virgo this week. We talked about Jupiter and Saturn squaring each other. I lightly talked about Saturn going back into Pisces, but I think it's very important because Saturn in Pisces, he's gonna be there for the next 5 months before he goes back into Aries. So September, October, November, December, January, February. We have 5 months until February to get it together and to wrap up our lessons when it comes to Saturn and Pisces. So what does Saturn go back to Pisces mean? Well, it means that there's certain narratives or certain stories for people that are coming to conclusion that were tied to Saturn in Pisces. So this could be, grief or loss that you've dealt with. This can be you've had a hard time finding a job, and now it's finally a job's going to be coming in. Now that Saturn's leaving Pisces, right? You've been struggling with emotional issues. You've been struggling with addiction issues. It could be different things. It just really depends for you on what that means, right? But you might have to revisit that thing though. You might have to confront it or deal with it or take ownership of it or fully release it or like find closure with it, right? Over the next 5 months so that you can, you know, um, so you can get to the end when it comes to your Saturn and Pisces narrative, right? So I think Saturn and Pisces. So the other thing that's really interesting about Saturn going back to Pisces is our last solar eclipse of this season, which is going to be a solar eclipse in Virgo, I believe on the 23rd. That might be the 23rd. Don't quote me. It's going to be opposite Saturn and Pisces. So what's so interesting about what's so interesting about Saturn going back to Pisces is that it's a big feature in the eclipse. Let me go back here. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Little ADD moment. September 21st. Yeah, so I was like, why was I thinking the 22nd or 23rd? So yeah, that solar eclipse in Virgo that we have on the 21st of September is going to be directly opposite Saturn in Pisces. Okay, both the sun and the moon are opposite Saturn in Pisces. Okay, so oh my God, I think it's going to be, let's see. It's going to be a little, okay. I think there's going to be some more losses and things that people are going to, I think there's going to be more collective loss or collective tragedy. I think we're going to be seeing some more celebrities passing away, especially around that Virgo eclipse, about around that solar eclipse in Virgo on the 21st. We're going to see more celebrities and kind of elderly people passing away or people, you know, yeah, you see, like, okay, so Pisces and Virgo, right? For if you put Leo, the Pluto and Leo generation, right? If you put Leo on the ascendant, Pisces and Virgo is their second house and eighth house, right? And the fact that Leo energy, if you put Leo on the ascendant, right? The fact that Leo energy has Pisces in the eighth house with the North Node and Saturn there, and Saturn went back in there, it just tells us that, the Pluto and Leo generation, I think especially, they're dealing with illness and disease and infection and death, and they're dealing with like these really intense transformations, and they're dealing with money, financial stuff, and they're thinking about who they're leaving their assets to, right? Who's their next of kin. Like there's a lot of the Pluto generation is coming to an end of their time, and we're really seeing that. We're really seeing that right now, and we're really seeing that with, we've been seeing that with Saturn going through Pisces, right? The eighth house to the Pluto and Leo generation. But now that the eclipses and the nodes are going through Pisces and Virgo, so there is the Pluto and Leo generation. These are the people that are kind of like passing away. These are the ones that are kind of like passing away, getting sick and stuff. So I think we're going to see some more celebrities because Leo's also the sign of celebrity and the CEO and leadership, right? We're going to see more kind of like celebrities like doing themselves in, or more like celebrities, leaders, bosses, CEOs, people that are in the limelight, your people at the top of the food chain. This could be in your own life, this could be at your own job, kind of like doing themselves in, getting sabotaged, dealing with some kind of controversy, getting sick, losing something, losing their jobs, losing their positions, something like this. Hey, dealing with the heart attack, something like this, it's going to be a thing with Saturn going back to Pisces, especially with that last eclipse that we have in Virgo on the 21st, because it is going to be directly opposite Saturn. Okay. Um, but yeah, so Saturn going back to Pisces, there's some lessons that we need to finish and complete around Pisces. And what is Pisces? Pisces is the sign of spiritual surrender. Pisces is the sign of martyrdom. Pisces is the sign connected to water, oceans, flooding, lakes, rivers, streams. That's Pisces. Pisces, yeah, so storms, hurricanes, things like this. You know, um, those are all Pisces. Okay. Pisces is also the sign of kind of like escapism and addiction and like alcohol and drugs and like substances, right? That's Pisces. Pisces is also the sign connected to those that are on the outskirts of community. So those that are disenfranchised. So when we're talking about like the homeless, we're talking about the elderly, we're talking about the sick, the most vulnerable, delicate, people in society, the ones that get taken advantage of, that's also Pisces as well, right? So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because those people, or the things that I've been mentioning, are going to be an area of focus, or they may be in the limelight, or they may be coming across in the media or something like this. Okay. This week with Saturn going back into Pisces. Saturn's also connected to government and corporations, and Saturn is connected to structure, and Saturn is connected to reality and what is real, right? But Saturn in Pisces has been kind of like this the last 2.5 years with Saturn in Pisces. There's been like a what is real and what is fake. Like what is, nothing is feeling stable, nothing is feeling secure, nothing is feeling safe, right? And we just got to like lean into that energy because this is a time of incredible destabilization, and we're seeing a lot of kind of things energetically collapse. There's more of this collapse. And we may see more governments kind of like collapsing and stuff like this with Saturn going back to the Pisces over the next 5 months. Saturn's going to be sitting around, he's going to go to 29 degrees, but he's going to go, I think he goes back to like 26 before he stations and goes direct. So if you have last degrees, say about Saturn and Pisces. And um, last thing I'm gonna say, if you have anything around the last degrees, anything like in the last decan of Pisces, especially like anything from like 24 to like 29 of Pisces, um, you are gonna be getting you're gonna be getting squared, opposed by, or Saturn's going to be in a conjunction with your placements. So this can be very important for you, okay? And it could be difficult. It could be hard. It could be burdensome. It could be sad. It could be emotional. I'm thinking of folks that I know with a late degree sun or moon in a mutable sign, and Saturn in Pisces, going to the last degrees of Pisces in the beginning of this year, and last year was kind of difficult for them. Many of them were going through ish. Many of them were dealing with depression, and they were dealing with isolation and loneliness. So they're dealing with like mental emotional stuff, addiction stuff, or even like not being able to find a job. There's someone that I have a client who hasn't been able to find work throughout the entire Saturn and Pisces transit. They have not been able to find work or find a job. And there's some inklings of it coming in, but yeah. So just keep this in mind, all right? Especially if you have any late degree mutable placements. There may be some kind of delay, some kind of setback, some kind of blockage, some kind of emotional burden. There could be some kind of also obligation, responsibility that you got to go back to. So if you have a late degree moon at a mutable sign, and Saturn's going back into Pisces, well, you might need to go back home. You might need to go help your family. You might need to, deal with something around real estate or property or something like this, right? So it's just different ways of kind of understanding what that Saturn going back to Pisces can mean for you if you have a mutable placement. But the good thing, let me tell you what I love about Saturn and Pisces, especially around like October, I believe. Was it October? Let me see. Hold on. I think is it October or November? I think it's October, November. What I love about Saturn going back to Pisces is by, yeah, October, yeah. It's like going into November, but it's like October, like it's like pretty much Scorpio season. Yeah, it's gonna be Scorpio season. Ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah, Scorpio season. Um, Oh, we're gonna start to feel it. No, we're gonna start to feel it going into Libra season. Yeah, we're gonna start to feel it. But it hits real strong. It hits real strong come October 1st. We're gonna have Jupiter and Saturn in a trine with each other. We're gonna have Jupiter and Saturn in a trine with each other. And this is really good. Let me tell you why. Okay. If you are someone that's been putting in the work, if you've been doing what Saturn has been wanting you to do over the last 2.5 years, if you've been working on something, you've been consistent, you've been disciplined, you've persevered, okay? You have stuck through it. Even though it hasn't been like you haven't been seeing a lot of reward, a lot of gains, a lot of return. Maybe you haven't been seeing a lot of exposure, a lot of success in some type of way, even though you've been working on something. Well, the Saturn Jupiter trine that is beginning in October, we're going to feel it October, November, is going to bring expansion, growth, reward, opportunity. It's going to bring some kind of gift or blessing from the work that you've been putting in. If you've been doing your due diligence and you've been like putting in the work that Saturn's been asking you to put in over the last few years, okay? So we love the Saturn Jupiter trine. Saturn's going to go back into Pisces. He's going to get to around 24 degrees Pisces, I believe. And then Jupiter is going to get to like 24 as well. And yeah, Jupiter sits at 24. Saturn, he goes back to, I believe, 20. I think it's like, oh, 25. Does he get to 24? Let's see if he gets to 24. He gets to 25. So Saturn goes back to 25, and then Jupiter, he gets to 25. And guess what? Jupiter stations. So Jupiter is going to be sitting at 25 degrees Cancer while Saturn is stationing to go direct. So Jupiter stations around at 25 degrees Cancer to go backwards. And then Saturn, he's backwards. He goes back to 25 degrees Pisces, and then he stations to move forwards, right? Come like November, December. So this beautiful like Jupiter Saturn trine that we have, Scorpio, like Libra Scorpio season, it's going to be very supportive. It's going to be very expansive. Also, another thing, because it's a grand water trine, so this is going to be really motivating for the water signs. So the Saturn in Pisces, Jupiter in Cancer, water signs, if you're a Pisces, Virgo, oh, I'm sorry, Pisces, Virgo. If you're a Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio, this is a very pivotal time right now. Like, and you're going to feel it even going to the end of the year with that Saturn Jupiter trine, where you're kind of like setting new foundations and you're making big choices or decisions, but you're like preparing for something because you got to think, right? Jupiter is going to go retrograde. Saturn, he's retrograde, but he goes direct, but he's in Pisces. He hasn't ingressed into Aries, right? So I really feel like water signs, especially, they're kind of like setting new foundations and they're preparing for something new going into next year with this like Jupiter Saturn square. But they're seeing a lot of reward, a lot of recognition, a lot of kind of like restabilization, I would even say. The earth signs are going to benefit from this as well because the earth signs, right, they do form sextiles with the water signs, and so in opposition, but sextiles in opposition. So they're going to be getting the good energy. The Earth and the water signs getting the good energy from Saturn and Jupiter in Pisces, and that beautiful trine that we have. That's going to be showing up October, November, specifically around there. Okay, so we love that. That's what we love about Saturn going back to Pisces. I'm excited about it actually. Because I feel like I've learned what Saturn was supposed. I'm a Pisces rising, so I feel like I've learned what Saturn was supposed to teach me. But I don't know. We'll see. Okay, what's the next thing we want to talk about? So we talked about Mercury going to Virgo. We talked about Saturn going back to Pisces. We talked about the Jupiter Mars square. Let's talk a little bit about this upcoming eclipse. We're 45 minutes in. I haven't gotten to like the actual like play-by-play breakdown yet, but we'll get there when we get there. But let's talk a little bit about the eclipse that we have on Sunday. So, the big thing is that this week culminates into an eclipse that we have on Sunday. Very, very important eclipse. It's our opening lunar eclipse in Pisces, and it's right at the middle degrees, September 7th. Yeah, Sunday, September 7th. And this eclipse is going to be at 15 degrees, which is a Gemini degree. So this eclipse is going to focus a lot on siblings, communication. I'm going to go over this in more detail. Like I'm going to do a live specifically on this eclipse in a few days, but it's going to focus on Gemini things. And it's also with the nodes at a Virgo degree, and we have Mercury in Virgo. So there's a lot of Mercury energy with this Pisces eclipse. I know it's an eclipse in Pisces, but it's very mercurial. It's informed by Sun Mercury in Virgo, and it's at a Gemini degree, and the nodes are also at a Virgo degree, right? So even though it's a lunar eclipse in Pisces, it is kind of very mercurial in a lot of ways. So we're talking about jobs, talking about communication, talking about aunts, uncles, siblings. We're thinking about our health. We're thinking about our nervous system. We're thinking about our day-to-day routines, right? So there's a big focus on that. But the eclipse, right, in Pisces, though, we have the moon with the north node. And with the moon and the north node together, we're seeing a lot of expansion and growth. And what's so beautiful about this lunar eclipse in Pisces is that it's making this gorgeous trine to Jupiter, who's exalted in Cancer. And right, so North Node Moon together in Pisces. Pisces is ruled by planet Jupiter. Jupiter is in the fifth house away, a really good house from the sign of Pisces, right? Fifth house is love, expansion, joy, opportunity, luck, right? And this lunar eclipse in Pisces is trining Jupiter, with the nodes trining Jupiter. So this feels like a very expansive very nourishing, very opportunistic, very exciting lunar eclipse in Pisces. It's going to be kind of sad in some ways, or maybe some things that we got to confront. There may be some, things that we're releasing or letting go of, that we're mourning or that we're grieving. But overall, there's this really fun, exciting, expansive, hopeful, optimistic energy of kind of moving forward and looking forward to things to come in some type of way, right? And that beautiful trine to Jupiter, I think, with Jupiter in Cancer, we're really, thinking about, you know, lunar eclipse in Pisces, ruled by Jupiter in Cancer. We're thinking about our hopes and our dreams. We're thinking about our family. We're thinking about the things that we love. We're thinking about relocating and changing our life, right? For to fall in love or to go be with our soulmate or something like this, right? Like there's something around like I want to go far. I want to make a big change. I want to do something that I've been promising myself. And you know what? I'm finally just going to like realize that playing it small and overthinking and self-criticizing and judging myself and being hard on myself and expecting everything to be perfect and I got to be ready before I make the jump, like throw all that out the window. Okay, like we are taking leaps of faith, we're trusting, we're believing, we're optimistic. Okay, and we're being proactive with this eclipse, and I really think that we don't want to get too caught up on the south side of the eclipse, the south side of the south side part of the eclipse, right? The Sun, Mercury, and South Node in Virgo. We don't want to get caught up in that. We need to do North Node, Moon in Pisces, and Jupiter in Cancer. Visiting our family, honoring our ancestry, honoring our heritage, getting prepared to move, this planning the move for some of us, because it's a lunar eclipse, which is the moon, our home, our living eclipse. So the lunar eclipse, right, it's our home, it's our living situation, it's our family, it's our past, it's the things that we're emotionally invested in, the things that we care about, the things that we love, and the things that we unconditionally love, like the love where it's like it's about sacrifice. It's about, you know what? I love you, so I'm gonna bleed for you. I'm gonna suffer for you. I'm gonna struggle for you. I love you. Like, I love you so deeply. I will like do any, right? That's the Pisces type of love. That's the unconditional type of love that we're talking about. And there's like this energy of like, we want to resolve this love. We want to take action towards this love in some type of way, right? And so another big message that I have, and I think this is something I just want to share with everybody for this eclipse, because it's Jupiter in Cancer, right? It's a lunar eclipse, North Node, Moon in Pisces, ruled by Jupiter in Cancer in this beautiful trine. Sometimes you got to go backwards before you go forwards. And sometimes you got to like go back to your past. You got to go back to your tradition. You got to go back to your heritage. You got to go back to your family. You got to go back home to figure out what your next steps are, where you're going to go, what you're going to do. Like sometimes you do have to go backwards before you go forwards. And I just want to remind you this because we have this lunar eclipse in Pisces, right? But who just went back into Pisces? Saturn did. Saturn. So this is like, wait a minute, we're not quite done yet. We're not quite ready yet. So there may be these themes around wrapping up loose ends or completing certain things or finishing out certain things or kind of like honoring the fact that you got to live out certain karmic contracts. You got to let time do the thing before it's like done with, and before you can like wrap it up with like a nice neat little bow or something, right? It's like you gotta do that, and we just gotta honor the fact that in some ways the past may resurface before we can like move forward. Okay, with this eclipse, I just gotta say, I gotta mention that. I gotta say that. Okay. um so the sun and the moon are opposite each other for this eclipse, and this tends to lunar eclipses tend to illuminate what is not emotionally sound, or what is not no longer feeling safe or comfortable in our life, and so we feel like we got to do something, or even we're not identifying with something anymore. There's like a disconnect in like our experience of something. We're not identifying with it. We're not seeing ourselves with that thing anymore. And so we got to pivot or make a change. So, you know, just pay close attention with this eclipse coming up on the 7th. I'm gonna go deeper on this, by the way. We're gonna talk more about this, okay? But pay close attention. Pay close attention to what comes up for you, what emotions come up for you, what situations come up for you, what you're no longer feeling. You know, this is a very emotional eclipse. Our emotions are they're amplified. We have the North Node and the Moon together, right? It's like amplification of emotion. We're feeling very sensitive and very delicate going into this eclipse. But you kind of want to watch how you react to things or how you act. You want to be a little intentional. You want to slow down because you don't want to make any kind of like, conclusive decisions, or you don't want to do something with this eclipse that kind of throws you into chaos, right? I think the best thing to do during eclipse season before you make any dramatic shifts or changes or decisions is to kind of like slow down and kind of think about the consequences of it and maybe the timing of it, right? Maybe there's something that a conversation you got to have, maybe it's a decision or a choice that you make or something you want to do, but maybe waiting until the eclipse cycle is done with, right? Waiting until the eclipse cycle is over, or maybe waiting until there's a better time where you can do that thing or you can talk about that thing, maybe the right thing to do. Okay. So I just want you guys to honor that and respect that and listen to that. Okay. Does that make sense? This is a very witchy eclipse too. So the other really cool thing about this eclipse in Pisces is we have this grand trine with Lilith in Scorpio. So we have Sun, Moon together in Pisces, trining Jupiter in Cancer, but Lilith in Scorpio is also at 18. She's at 18 degrees Scorpio, and she's forming a grand trine, right? So there's something taboo, there's something witchy, there's something dark, there's something mysterious, there's something, like I would say this would be a great eclipse to get a tarot reading or to get into astrology or to do some kind of Lilith and Scorpio activity. A lot of people will say don't do any manifesting or don't do any like magic and stuff like that around eclipses. And you do you, boo, right? You live whatever you want, whatever you feel within yourself. But you know, I'm not someone that's going to tell you not to do something or tell you to do something. It's to each their own. Your beliefs shape your reality, right? So, but if you do feel like called to doing something witchy or something kind of Scorpio-esque with this eclipse, it's that Lilith and Scorpio. Lilith and Scorpio tends to illuminate scandals and deceptions and, tends to be very triggering, but it's also about the divine feminine, right? The divine feminine, the empowerment of the divine feminine in some type of way. Oh, I forgot about my tea. Let me drink my tea real quick. Give me a second. So, if you're a lady, you might be feeling very empowered or very inspired during this eclipse, this first eclipse, with that Lilith and Scorpio activation. You might want to, start getting involved in tarot, and you might want to start, dipping your toes in astrology and things like this because, right, of that grand trine to Pluto and Scorpio. But yeah, Pluto and Scorpio brings out scandals, it brings out deception, things around cheating and stuff. It's a grand trine, but also Venus is moving into a square with Lilith and Scorpio. So there's definitely a lot of this energy of kind of like, you know, deception, mistrust, betrayal. There's like kind of this energy floating in the air around maybe relationships. We're gonna feel it more next week when Venus actually squares Lilith, but that energy is kind of showing up with this eclipse. Okay, I just want you guys to be aware of it because there is that grand trine to that Lilith, right? Someone asked, when does eclipse season end? Eclipse season ends after the 2 weeks after our final eclipse, right? So eclipse season starts with the first eclipse, and then the 2 week cycle after the last eclipse is when it ends. Okay. So eclipse season lasts for about anywhere from a month to I guess the right way to say it would be 4 weeks to 6 weeks. That's a proper way to say it. Someone said that infamous astrologer getting exposed and sued. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that. Let me go and see what people are saying real quick. Someone said, yes, my Lilith in Aquarius is being activated. Yes. Emphasis on things. Trump being sick and MIA is a perfect indication of eclipse season on the Virgo Pisces axis. Yes, it is. So Donald Trump is dealing with some kind of illness or some kind of sickness, right? Donald Trump. Let me look at him real quick. You look at the at Agent Orange real fast. Mr. Trump, Petty Trump. Oh yeah, look at we got protests today. We got Labor Day protesting. Donald Trump house. Yeah, Donald Trump is going to be getting hit by this health stuff because Saturn just went back into his eighth house and his eighth house, second house axis getting eclipsed. Yeah, it's so interesting how we have this thing coming up with his health, right now. Donald Trump birth chart. Hold on, let me look at his chart really quick. Let me look at his chart. He's a Leo rising with a Gemini sun, and he has a Sag moon. Oh, he's going through a nodal square. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah, so he's getting squared by the nodes. So these eclipses that we're having in Virgo and Pisces, right? They are squaring his Uranus. They're squaring his North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sag, which are at 20 degrees, and they're going to be squaring his Sun as well at 22 and his Moon at 21. So these the nodes are already squaring his. So when we go through a nodal square, right? When the nodes square our nodes, we can have something very significant happen. That could be a time of karmic fated outcomes or karmic events where there's like a personal reckoning, right? I always think of eclipses as like divine upheaval and divine revelation. And eclipses, like they wrap up ongoing karmic narratives and they begin new ones. So this is why many times, we meet new people that are going to be a very significant part of our life, or we embark on a new journey, or we get a new job, or we get something new that comes in around an eclipse because it's going to be a significant part of our new timeline, right? But what happens is we also tend to deal with personal reckoning, or we kind of, there could be sadness or tragedy, or there could be like, destruction that happens in our life around the eclipses as well. But one of the big things that does happen for people time and time again with eclipses, especially when their sun gets eclipsed or their moon, or the ruler, the planet that rules their ascendant, the planet that rules the rising, is health issues. The moon is especially the moon is a very strong indicator of health stuff when it gets eclipsed, or health things can become an issue when your moon gets hit by the eclipses. The reason being is because the moon is a significator of the body, of your body in your birth chart. So not only is your rising sign and the planet that rules your rising, along with any planets in your rising, connected to your body and your physical health, but guess what? Your moon is also connected to your health and your body. So if you experience difficult transits to your moon, you can go through a health experience or have like a health thing. Aquarius rules the ankles. Yes, it does. Aquarius does rule the ankles. Someone said that his ankles are looking kind of thick or what? He's got horrid dark spots on his hands. Yeah, I was reading about that. The dark spots on the hands, apparently that's attributed to like something with the blood pressure. They're saying something about his blood pressure and his kidneys. I was reading something about that. Um, Donald Trump marks on hand. Oh, right here. Mark on hand. Hand bruise. He's got a hand bruise. Yeah, it could be connected to his like blood pressure, his liver, his kidney, something like that. He does have Jupiter in Libra, you know. He's got Jupiter square Saturn. He's got Saturn square Jupiter between Libra and Cancer. So, oh, that makes sense. Mars is in Libra. Oh, Mars is going over his Jupiter in Libra. So Mars is at 16 Libra. He has Chiron at 14 Libra, and he has Jupiter at 17 Libra. And Mars is going over that Jupiter. Mars is also going to be squaring his Saturn and squaring his Venus. So the Mars in Libra is messing this guy up. This is where we're getting inflammation with the kidneys, his blood sugar, and stuff like that is probably all messed up right now. I guarantee you they're doing like diet changes on this guy. Like this guy is going through some like diet stuff. Like they're like, okay, we gotta like work on his diet. He's probably getting like intravenously given something. Someone said his kidneys are working really hard to compensate for his cardiac issues. Yeah, also the Burning Man homicide. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, he's a Leo. Leo rules the heart, and he has a 20. He has Mars. Oh, Mercury's going over. Mercury's at 28, going over his ascendant as well. So Mercury's in Leo, going over. Mercury's at 28 Leo, going over his Mars at 26, and going over his about to go over his ascendant at 29. So Mercury going through Leo in his rising sign would bring up the heart or issues with the heart. Leo rising is a sign that deals with heart issues all the time because that's their rising sign, right? Leo rules the heart, especially someone that has Mars and Leo, because this is like inflammation or a bursting of the heart. Mars and Leo on the ascendant is a very strong signature of like being heart attack prone in general. When people have Mars on the ascendant. I actually did a reading for someone last week that had Mars on the ascendant, and they are forever getting in accidents and getting hurt, and they're always like getting burned, and they're like, why do I always end up hurting myself, or why do I always end up like getting in accidents, or why have I broken so many bones? And I was like, well, it's because you got Mars on your ascendant, and you're a risk taker. You like to do dangerous things. You like to adventure and you like to challenge yourself. And when you do have Mars on you, when you're a Mars rising person, okay, if you embrace Mars's energy and you're very courageous and you go out there and you're doing dangerous things, well, guess what? You're going to break a bone. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to burn yourself. You're going to get wounded, right? That's a big Mars thing. Also, when Mars is on your ascendant, people will be combative with you and they want to fight and argue with you. For no reason. You'll be out walking your dog or doing your thing, living your life, and all of a sudden, someone looks at you and they're like, "You look at me the wrong way. You want to fight?" And you're like, "What the heck did I do?" Well, guess what? That's the Mars on your ascendant. Triggering people, calling in, right? What is it? Pushing you to go to war, right? Your energy projecting outwards. His heart surgery during an eclipse portal risky. Don't know the rest of his chart, but my stepdad is a Gemini. He's having a valve replacement on 9/3. Yeah, any kind of surgery is usually usually any kind of surgery is not recommended during the eclipses. Especially especially a solar eclipse, because the sun, which is the seat of the soul, the heart is the seat of the soul. The sun rules your heart. It's where your soul starts, where your life forces comes from, the sun, right? What happens during eclipses? The light of the sun gets blocked out. So this is why many people pass away during eclipses. They lose their life force because the north node and the south node, they swallow up the light of the sun and the moon, the luminaries, the life givers. The luminaries, they give life, right? The sun is the life giver, the life bringer. Well, guess what? What happens when the sun is going through the south node? And what happens with the sun during an eclipse? Well, his light gets blocked out. His light gets darkened, right? He loses his vitality, he loses light. So um, they eclipses are generally very ominous, and people usually advise against any kind of surgery during eclipse season or during eclipse cycle. But also, right, it's a time of destiny and fate, and also it has everyone's chart looks different. You know, just because one person their chart may show, okay, not a good time to get surgery during this eclipse. For some other person, it may show this is the time. This is your destiny. This is your fate. This is the time where this thing is going to happen no matter what. You have to get surgery on this date at this time. There's no delaying it, there's no stopping it. This is the time, right? So, yeah, it really depends on everyone's chart, on your own individual chart. But in general though, we don't want to do surgery during eclipse season in general. but it'll probably show up that he's getting surgery in his it'll probably show up that in his chart right now, like that he's getting surgery. It'll probably show that. So, All right. Let's keep talking. Let's keep talking. So yeah, so Mr. Trump, this guy's getting hit with the eclipses. And we said, I think I even said it. I think I said that this was gonna be a very hard time for him. Like this eclipse cycle is gonna be very difficult, very hard for him. The last eclipse should be a little bit easier, but I think the eclipse for him that's happening on the 21st, I think that eclipse is going to be more about like business partnerships and politics and things that he's doing. Where this particular eclipse, this first one, is more about his health and his body, and is more about like his diet and like what he's going through and things like this. But this man, I'm telling you right now, this man's gonna be making some big decisions come the end of this month. Around partnership, around like the people that he's connected with, or like the other global leaders and stuff like that. He's gonna be making some big choices, big decisions and stuff. But all right, let's keep moving on. Let's bring it back. Let's focus it back to the astrology of the week ahead. Um, yeah, sending good vibes your way, my love. Said I hope his surgery goes well. Hope his surgery goes well. That there's no issues. Okay. So I think this is the time where we start talking about the astrology of the week, and we kind of look at the moon by moon transits, talk about key transits for every day. So let me go ahead and share. I'm going to share my screen on Zoom so that if the people going back to watch it can see. If you guys want to pull up, like, if you're on Instagram right now and you're watching live and you just want to pull up the chart of the moment, to kind of follow along, you can. Okay, cool. So there we go. All right, cool. All righty. So today, let's get back to today. Who had a fun weekend, or who's having a fun weekend? This has been a very fun weekend for a lot of people. We've had a beautiful weekend because the moon is in Sag, and right as the moon went to Sag on Saturday, which was the 30th? 30th? Yeah. When the moon went into Sag on Saturday the 30th, the moon immediately trined Venus and trined Saturn in Aries. So there's been this beautiful fire trine energy in the air with Venus and Leo, the moon in Sag has been very expansive, very active, very social, moon trine Venus. Today is a great day for communication. So today the moon is wrapping up in the sign of Sag and it's about to go into Capricorn for the next few days. And the moon is trining Mercury in Leo and trining Chiron in Aries today. So, you went to a wedding on Friday. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. So, yeah, a lot of people getting married right now. A lot of people getting married. A lot of people getting engaged. The Jupiter and Can. Oh my gosh, I want to get married one day. I want to get engaged one day. I was feeling very emotional this weekend, by the way. I was thinking like, I'm ready. I'm ready for love. This eclipse is happening in my rising sign, but then I have like the sun and Mercury and like the south node in my seventh house of like partnership because I'm a Pisces rising. And I was like, God, listen, okay? Stop bullshitting me, all right? I'm ready for love. I'm ready for a partner. I'm ready to experience deep intimacy and closeness. And I had to like own it. I had to like fully accept that within myself. Like this like weekend, I like was like taking a cold hard look at myself and I was like, you know what, Louie, like you need to remove all these barriers that are blocking you from love. And you need to like allow men in. You start trusting, you start building connections, you need to start like putting yourself out there. Like you are ready for that and you deserve that. But the thing that let me tell you what's so difficult. Let me tell you what's so difficult. Like being a gay man, I realized this and it like hit me like today. Not today, it hit me yesterday actually. The majority of like LGBT men are just not safe. They're just not they're just not a safe space. They're not, you know, I don't know, yo. But I'm not focusing on that, okay? I'm not focusing on that. I'm not focusing on the troubled, wounded, gay male energy. I'm getting away from that. I'm leaving that behind. Okay. I'm moving away from that. I'm changing the narrative. I'm changing the story that I'm telling myself. Because like my narrative and my story has been like, I can't trust no gay men. You know, gay men are emotionally a mess and they're not responsible, they're not emotionally safe. And, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna get from one day to the next. You know, like one day you like me, the next day you don't. You know, one day you're into this, the next day you're not. And I'm not trying to do that with myself. I'm not trying to put myself in a position to where I end up getting like hurt or making myself vulnerable to someone that is just like gonna just, let me tell you, the one thing in my life, the one experience I had in my life that was like the most difficult and the most disturbing for me, to where I like lost all this weight and I got super depressed and all this, was from a breakup. That was the only time, the only thing, okay, that could mess me up that deeply. And after I experienced that, because it hurt for so much, I was hurting for so many years after that experience. Um, I was like, you know what? It's not even worth the risk. Like I told myself, I was like, to never put myself in a position like that ever again. We're just like not gonna do this. Or like if it happens, it happens, but I'm not just gonna give it energy. But like I realized I can't let that experience and I can't let what I went through in that one time, like I can't let that take me away from all this love that's out there waiting for me. I can't, there's a divine partner out there for me. There's a spouse out there. There's a husband out there just waiting for me. And I know this and I feel it so deeply, right? But I gotta like let all that shit from the past go and I have to like reframe my mind and my consciousness around my beliefs around gay men and stuff. Because it's made me feel very like jaded and it's made me feel very kind of like, I don't know. So yeah, this weekend, I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I'm like Saturn going back into Pisces. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Eclipse season between my first and seventh house. The sun's in my seventh. I'm like, here we go with love and relationships and partnerships, right? But I think the most important thing for me this weekend was me owning it, like fully owning the desire. Like I want this and I confidently want this and it's okay for me to want this. And now that I like accept that I fully want that, I can allow myself to like have it, right? And I think many times like when it comes to like success, when it comes to joy, when it comes to peace, when it comes to abundance, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to the things that we want, the things that we desire, and this could even be like you want this thing, you want to be this thing, but like you want to be like this thing, right? Like you have to own it. And you got to like fully embrace it and like lean into it. And you got to be like, yes, I want this. And so many of us, we are in conflict with our own desires. One day we want something, the next day we won't. We don't. One day we're like, oh yeah, I'm all about this, I want this. And then the next day we're like, we're wishy-washy about it, or we're inconsistent about it, or we lie to ourselves, we delude ourselves, tell ourselves, oh no, I don't want this, or we feel guilty and ashamed for wanting things, right? And like what's been coming through for me, it makes sense because I'm going through my Mars return. I have Mars in Libra, right? And I have Mars at 13 and Mars is at 16 right now. So I'm literally going through my Mars return. But it makes sense. We got to own the fullness of our desires. You know, we got to own the fullness of our desires. We got to be like, I want this. Yes, I want this. And it's okay for me to want this. And I shouldn't feel guilty about wanting this. And I shouldn't feel bad about wanting this. And I should take a look at myself to see what in myself or what in my life do I need to shift and change so I can have this thing, right? You'll be part of the 25% of people that are single to the end of life. There was a statistic that came out, or I was like I don't know if it was like it was like I don't know what it was. It was like a survey or something. Um, oh my God, I'm just like butchering this. Oh yeah, okay, this is it right here. Yeah, 25% of people are expected to remain single for life. Very studies show different figures for currently unpartnered adults. But yeah, it says by 2030, almost 45% of women aged 25 to 44 will be single and child-free. 45% of women aged 25 to 44 will be single and child-free by 2030. 25% of people are expected to remain single for their life. So you could be part of that 25. Not me. That's what when I read that, that 25%, it's so funny. Someone said, Marissa said, please not me. I said the same thing. I was like, not me, Jesus. I was like, not me. Listen, I'm a part of a lot of minorities, but don't let me be part of that minority, please. I want to be part of the majority, okay? I'm not gonna be going to the end of this life single. We're not doing that. We're not. We're just not doing that. It's not happening. I'm not going to be part of that minority. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. Exactly. I feel you. Uh, I feel you on that one. 25% is high. One in four people will be single by end of life, or going to the end of life, which is so interesting. So, all right, let's keep going with the astrology, okay? A little detour. I had to get on my little high horse right there, okay? Because this weekend I had some very pivotal moments this weekend. I had some, it's eclipses. I mean, I'm a Pisces rising and Virgo season in my seventh house, and I feel this eclipse energy happening. And I think that, the eclipses, right? They make us confront things, they make us realize things, they make us see things, they motivate us to be like, actually, this is what's aligned with my path. This is what's aligned with my destiny. This feels right. This is where I want to go. This is the future I want to move towards. This is what I want to build, right? Like the eclipses, they align us to that if we allow it. If we honor what the eclipse energy with the North Node is pushing us towards, pulling us towards, right? Yeah, we shouldn't feel guilty for our desires. We have a lot of guilt and shame around the things that we want. And many of us, we're raised to be like, and it could even be like, oh, you have to sacrifice your desires and your wants, right? For the greater good. You got to sacrifice your desires and wants for your family. You got to sacrifice this, right? But I think, what's so important right now, is like really owning desire. And really, because think about it, Saturn is going to be going to Aries in the next 3 years, and Aries is ruled by Mars, which is the sign of desire, right? And so I think, just to get a little bit of to get ahead of the game, I guess you would say, I would, really think about what what do you desire? What do you want in your life? And like fully own it. Fully own it. Don't feel guilty or bad or ashamed about that, okay? All right, let's keep going. So the moon goes into Capricorn. Oh, so today we have moon. Okay. So today, right? As the moon is trining Mercury, it's also trining Chiron. We have a grand trine with Chiron, Mercury, and the moon in. We have moon in Sag, Mercury in Leo, Chiron in Aries. Grand trine. Moon 27, Mercury 28, Chiron 26. So this Mercury Chiron trine that's happening with the moon, kind of like emotionally healing conversations that we're having today going into tomorrow. The Mercury Moon trine. It's like this, there's like a flow between the mind, which is Mercury, our thoughts and like what we're saying, our communication, our words, and like the moon and Sag, our emotions, or like what the way we want to express ourselves. And then Chiron is like inviting in this like healing, this beautiful healing energy, right? So we could have very deep healing conversations. We could be doing things today that are very healing for us going to tomorrow, right? We can have a conversation with someone that, kind of exposes or reveals something very prominent for us that gives us some kind of cathartic release or something. So we love the moon trine Mercury and trine Chiron. But today, with Saturn going back to Pisces at 29, the moon's also squaring Saturn, right? So today there could be some reality checks. There could be some hard stops. There could be some sobering moments today where you're like, you know what? Going to tomorrow as the moon goes to Capricorn, you're like, wait a minute, this is no longer functioning. This is no longer working. I can't do this anymore. There could be, or I just need to be more structured. I need to be more disciplined. I need to recommit, right? I need to recommit to something, some kind of plan, some kind of agenda, something like this with the moon squaring Saturn, okay? But yeah, if you feel very heavy or very sad or you feel very emotionally weighted today, you were feeling good this weekend, but today you're kind of feeling a little heavy, a little lethargic. It's the moon square Saturn, all right? Moon coming up into a square with Saturn. So then, ba 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 da ba. So what I What I decided I'm gonna start doing is that I'm gonna start inserting little like commercial jingles into my lives to like wrap you guys in. So so anytime you're like you go to McDonald's and you like or you're watching TV and you hear like little McDonald's jingle, you're gonna think of me. I'm gonna start inserting little like manipulative scorpionic advertising jingles into my lives so that when you get all of a sudden like you're gonna hear something, you're gonna hear a little jingle on the radio, you're gonna be watching TV and you're gonna think of me. I'm loving it. People are locking in to commit to something from September 1st to December 31st. Someone said manipulative market. I can't help it. I'm a Scorpio. Okay. But yeah, so with Saturn squaring the moon, people are locking in to commit to something. Yeah, especially mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag, the next 5 months. Saturn going through Pisces, back to Pisces. You know, it's time to commit. It's time to fully, you know, commit to the structure, commit to the routine, commit to the foundation, commit to the sobriety. Like Saturn in Pisces, right? This is the last of his work in Pisces, right? So, all right, Moon in Capricorn. Moon in Capricorn, Tuesday, Wednesday. The moon is going kind of fast. Thursday, Friday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and okay, sorry. The moon is flying. So the moon's gonna be in Capricorn and Aquarius. Okay, starting tomorrow. And we're going through the Saturn rule signs. So the moon going through Capricorn is Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. The moon going through Aquarius, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. So, so Saturn just went back into Pisces. So I feel like this week, like the bulk of this week, with the moon going through Saturn rule signs, is us having to like deal with there's some kind of work, there's something coming back, there's something that's being dug up. Tomorrow is a good day though. Tomorrow is a good day. Okay, tomorrow's a good day. My brain is such a sleazy. It's already playing the I'm loving it. Ba 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 da ba. You know what? I should have submitted mine when they were doing like the contest, like the ba 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 da ba contest. I should have submitted mine. My voice can be featured on McDonald's commercials all around the world right now, but I missed that opportunity. That boat has sailed, unfortunately. So tomorrow's a good day. We have the sun trine the moon. The luminaries are trining each other tomorrow. So sun's in Virgo at 10. Tomorrow the moon's going to be in Capricorn at well, it goes into Capricorn, but it's going to be we have the sun trine the moon, okay? And also it's really cool. Oh, it's so funny you're going on an interview. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because look at the moon goes into Capricorn right as Mercury goes into Virgo tomorrow. So what's so interesting about Manana, let me work with the hours here appropriately. So I'm like going based off of a 6 hour time frame. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, so tomorrow morning, so by 6 p.m. tomorrow, um, we have the sun and the moon trying each other, but what's interesting is Mercury goes to 29 degrees Leo, and then the moon's at 29 degrees Sag, and then they both kind of go into like Capricorn and Virgo like together, like at the same time. So, and then we have the sun trying the moon, and we have Mercury trying the moon. So it's interesting how you're going for a job interview. That's interesting, Anthony, because Mercury does go into Virgo tomorrow, right? Which is the sign of jobs. So Mercury's ingress into Virgo is going to be a lot of people seeing expansion or growth or opportunity around jobs. Even though the season is going to be, there's going to be jobs that people are losing, there's also jobs that people are getting that are different or that are unexpected or that are something, that they would never thought that they'd be doing, or it's taking them out of their comfort zone or some type of way, or it's challenging them, right? Or it's a new type of position or new type of job in an emerging industry or something like this. Because as Mercury goes into Virgo and trines the moon in Capricorn, the Mercury is also squaring Uranus, right? So I think tomorrow we just want to be aware of kind of like unexpected shifts or changes and things like this. So this is when I was saying like 6 p.m. I was the time I'm using is GMT. Let me hold on, give me a second. Let me use let me hold on, give me a second. Let me use West Coast time. Because so let's see here. Hold on. Let's see here. Sorry guys, for those of you watching on YouTube, going back and watching this. I'm just figuring some things out really quick. Hold on. I'm switching some things up with the chart that I'm looking at. Hold on, give me a second. Alrighty. Wrong house system. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. So yeah, so tomorrow, Moon in Capricorn, trine Mercury, this good outcomes with leaderships, with talking to leaders or having conversations. Is a very like today and tomorrow's kind of like very active with communication, conversation, information. Also, the really cool thing that I think is also we're going to see with Moon and Virgo over the next 2 days, especially as the Moon approaches the Sun, is Mercury. So Mercury rules over letters. Mercury rules over phone calls. Mercury rules over conversations. Mercury rules over the mail, right? Emails and stuff, communication. So when Mercury moves, we see movement around those things as well. Okay. So I think we're going to see a lot of increased activity tomorrow around Mercury things, especially because Mercury's moving into his rulership, right? He's in the sign that he rules, which is Virgo. So we're seeing a lot of like good outcomes, good productive things tomorrow. Okay. All right, let's keep going. So Moon in Capricorn, by Moon, so by 12 p.m. tomorrow Pacific time, we have the sunshine and the moon. So tomorrow is, I don't know, the sunshine and the moon is like a good energy. It's very fun, it's very expansive. Sunshine moon is a good energy. Children, kids, stuff like that. Oh, and then, oops. And then, and then, and then on Tuesday, as the moon is going into the middle degrees of Capricorn, the moon is going to oppose Jupiter tomorrow. So actually, the moon Jupiter opposition, we're feeling it Tuesday night, but it's really going to be Wednesday. It's Wednesday that we're feeling the moon Jupiter opposition. Yeah, because moon and Jupiter they oppose each other around 6 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesday, September 3rd. So I think Wednesday is a very opportunistic day as well with the moon opposite Jupiter. That could be a day where we consult someone. We have to talk to a lawyer, we got to talk to a judge, we have to go do something with the government. That could be a day where we leave for travel or leave for vacation, or we actually make travel plans with moon opposite Jupiter. This would be a really, really good day to like take a risk or take a chance or do something kind of like new. Moon opposite Jupiter on this day. This would be also a really good day for any kind of like gambling. Like you could receive some kind of luck or receive some kind of grace from gambling and stuff like this because the moon is touching Jupiter on this day and we have the Jupiter trine the north node. So, that will be a good day for a lot of things. This is also a good day for family activities or family events. So, let's say Wednesday night you want to go to do like a family movie or something like that. Really good day for any kind of like family activity, home activities, things like this. You may be feeling very inspired on this day. This could also be a very athletic day. This could be a day where we, do some intramural sports or something, or we go to the gym, something like that. So, all right, Wednesday is looking like a good day. We love the moon touching opposing Jupiter. But this could also, because, this is also happening. Moon opposite Jupiter on Wednesday is also happening at the same time that Mars is coming into a square with Jupiter. So there could be some tension and conflict on Wednesday around injustice, around inequality. There could be some, a argument that we have around beliefs or something. I want you guys to really watch out for this week, okay? Like arguing around your beliefs or, fighting around like your morals and your ethics. Yeah, if you need to do that, okay? Like if it's like no, they need to hear it. No, you need to stand up for yourself. No, you need to address some kind of injustice. You need to call out inequality. If you need to do that as an expression of like passion or to like shift or change a dynamic in your life, then do that this week. But also be careful with taking it a little too far, or with taking it to the extreme, or with you going into like a conflict or a battle without any like intention, without any like end goal, without a desired outcome. You just want to think about that. Like this would not be a good week to fight for without reason, like, with Jupiter square Mars. Because things can get really blown out of proportion, with Jupiter square Mars. And we're gonna feel this Wednesday because the moon is opposing Jupiter, but the moon is also squaring Mars on Wednesday. And so we just want to watch out for that kind of like frustration and stuff. And this could also be about family drama. This could be about legal court issues as well, or court problems, court issues, legal issues, or like family drama, family crisis, stuff like that. So we just want to watch out for that, okay? A little moment of disagreement or something like that with your mama or your daddy, or those kids, okay, those god kids that don't behave, okay, that just be running up on the walls and they're painting over here and they're pooping over here and they're peeing over here. Oh my goodness. Get them kids together and don't bring them out in public, please, okay? Because they're not my burden, all right? I don't want to see them out there. I'm just those badass kids. I don't want to see them outside. Okay? You keep them indoors. All right? Keep them children to yourself. Okay? I don't want to see them. All right. Let's keep going. Where am I at? So I'm coming to the end of Wednesday. All right, let's go and look at let's go and look at Thursday. Okay, so Thursday around 6 a.m. in the morning, Pacific time. Okay, the moon goes into Aquarius, and the moon is going to hit Pluto, and the moon is going to, before hitting Pluto, it's going to sextile Mars, leave on upon its exit from Capricorn. It goes into Aquarius, hits Pluto, and then it makes that sextile to Neptune, and then it makes that trine to Uranus in Gemini. Okay, so with Moon, Pluto, trine Uranus on Thursday morning, 6 a.m., there can be an unexpected shift in your plans that day. There can be something surprising or shocking that happens at your job. There can be some kind of like social event or social engagement that you go to, that you're invited to after work unexpectedly, or there could be some kind of something that happens that day that's like out of the norm, that is like not regular, but it's like a good thing. It feels good. It doesn't feel like it's catching you off guard. It feels like it's navigatable. It feels like, oh, well, this was a sudden shift or a sudden change or a sudden surprise, but it's like a good surprise because it is Moon trine Uranus, right? Moon, Pluto trine Uranus. So this feels like good. Also, I think we're integrating like these things that we've been learning with Moon going into Aquarius and Moon Pluto, where Moon Pluto tends to be a moment of like profound emotional revelation or experience, or something that can hit us really deeply. We can get a piece of information that hits us really deeply, but we are being encouraged to like transform, transmute, to purge something or let something go on Thursday. If Thursday morning, if you wake up, because the Moon Pluto are going to be together at 6 a.m. If you wake up Thursday morning and you're feeling heavy in your heart around something, you're feeling sad about something, you're feeling defeated about something, and you're feeling like, you just wake up with some kind of emotion. You want to sit with it in the morning and you want to see, where is this being sourced? Where's this coming from? What am I not happy about? What am I feeling uneasy about? What am I feeling sad about? Right? And get to the root of it and ask yourself, what can I do to kind of pivot or shift this energy? How can I free myself from this energy? Or what am I being called to like let go of and purge? There may be something that you wake up feeling on Thursday morning, okay? And if you do wake up feeling some type of way, there's because something needs to transform or change about your relationship with that experience, with that emotion, with that person, or like you gotta like purge it. Something's gotta evolve, something's gotta purge something, okay? Um, on Thursday morning when the moon goes into Aquarius, all right? The moon in Aquarius is also our sixth house away from our new moon in Virgo that we had. So the sixth house is about karmic closure and completion. It's a cadent house. And it's when we're talking about like, lunar cycles, it is when the moon is, well, it's actually building up towards our eclipse, right? So, but it is about kind of like completions when it comes to that new moon in Virgo. One of the things I've been noticing over the last few new moon, full moon events that we've had, like over the last few new moon, full moons that we had over the last few months, one of the things I've been noticing is people passing away when the moon goes through its last sign before its next lunar event. So our new moon in Virgo, when we had the moon going through Leo, we had people pass away 2 days before our new moon in Virgo that we had, right? And so the moon in Aquarius for those couple days before our eclipse on Sunday, right? The moon in Aquarius Thursday and Friday is kind of open. It's kind of like this, it's like a karmic completion point. There could be some things that you experience or that you go through that are meant to show you what needs to be finished or wrapped up or what is exiting in your life. Okay. I just want you to take notice of this. Um, you know, Thursday. Starting on Thursday, but we're gonna like Thursday, Friday, okay, Saturday. So all right, so Moon in Aquarius, right? Moon in Aquarius is about friendship, Uranus and Gemini, Mars and Libra. It's a very social time. It's a very social period. I think this even, it makes sense Thursday, Friday, we have the Moon in Aquarius because this seems like a very social weekend or a weekend where people are gathering and they're gathering in groups or they're meeting strangers or doing some kind of group activity. This could be a concert, this could be a celebration, this could be, picketing, rioting, rebelling, protesting, moon in Aquarius, Uranus, trine Uranus and Gemini. That if there's any energy that's protesting energy, it's definitely moon in Aquarius, right? So going into the weekend, I think we're gonna see some kind of group where there's group activities. That's all I gotta say. There's group activities, okay? With the moon in Aquarius. But what happens is on so let's keep going on Thursday. Moon separates from Pluto on Thursday by midday, and the moon is going to oppose Venus Friday morning. Oh, who's going on a date? Anybody got a date on Friday? Yeah. The moon is opposing Venus like around midnight of Thursday, September 4th, and on September 5th, Friday, the moon hits an opposition with Venus and is separating from Venus. So it seems like Friday is feeling very like lovey-dovey and romantic or really social with the moon opposite Venus. There could be some drama. You have a date on Friday? You have a date with me on Friday? Oh, wait, we have what, we doing a reading? We're probably doing a reading. That's probably what it is. Well, that makes sense. The moon's in Aquarius in my 12th house, opposite Venus in my 6th house. So that's me consulting clients that day. I'm sorry. I've been like got this like I got this like little wave of hair right here, and I've just been playing with it. Um, so yeah, moon opposite Venus. This is a very good day for social connection, social interaction. We're feeling warm, we're feeling celebrated, but it could also be a dramatic day because the moon opposite Venus is also squaring Lilith and Scorpio. So, watch out for like friendship drama, relationship drama, group drama around this day. There could be, but I feel like this feels good though. This feels moon opposite Venus feels good, you know? Also, new commitments, new contracts, new engagements. Venus is a planet that does, she is connected to like our social contracts and the things that we agree to, the things that we say yes to, and so with moon opposite Venus, some people could be signing like a contract or something on Friday. So, but I love that. It's definitely a good date night. It's giving date energy on Friday, moon opposite Venus. And then on Thursday, or I'm sorry, Saturday, on Saturday, the moon is wrapping up. Oh, actually, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me back up a little bit. Let me back up a little bit. So, moon in Aquarius, okay? As the moon separates from Venus on Friday around 12 p.m., the moon trines Mars. And we have this really cool Mars Venus interaction happening with the moon on Friday. Meeting the guy that might renovate my kitchen on Saturday. I love that. So with the moon trine Mars and moon opposite Venus, this is about kind of like social engagement. And the moon trine Mars can be us doing something that we're very passionate about or very inspired by. This is giving gender dynamics though, Friday. This is giving like male female dynamics or like masculine feminine connection on Friday or masculine feminine interaction. The moon is in opposed Venus. The moon goes and immediately trines Mars afterwards. We have Mars and Venus coming into a sextile pretty soon, right? So I feel like Friday is a socially interactive day. Friday also could be a day of desire or a day that we feel very inspired and very passionate because the moon is trine Mars. So if you want to, ask someone out or go out on a date or you want to have some fun on Friday, whatever that means to you, do your thing, okay? Have fun, be safe, okay? All right, so then, okay, we're at 6 p.m. Friday night. The moon's at 21 degrees Aquarius. The moon is separating from a square with Lilith. And then on Saturday, so the moon wraps up in Aquarius by 6 a.m. Saturday morning on September 6th. And then the moon goes into Pisces on Saturday. So what's interesting about Saturday, right? As the moon goes into Pisces, we're now in the eclipse energy, but the moon in Pisces is going to be opposing Mercury and opposing Mercury first before our eclipse. Yeah, because we have our eclipse coming. Let's see. Yeah, the moon opposes Mercury by 6 p.m. Saturday evening. So, moon in Pisces opposite Mercury and Virgo. I feel like we're busy this weekend. We're like there's a lot of activity. There's a lot going on. There's just a lot of info. Maybe we're feeling a little a little I was going to say informationally overwhelmed or overwhelmed by tasks, but we might also be feeling very emotional, very sensitive at this time. So, I think we need discernment around our obligations and our responsibilities starting Saturday. I would say do not overwhelm yourself this weekend. I would say, play this weekend smart. Don't like cram a whole bunch of stuff into like Saturday and Sunday. Be very strategic with how you allocate your time this weekend, okay? Because Moon in Pisces opposite Mercury and Virgo is like we're busy. We're like doing a lot of things and we're kind of losing time. We're feeling like time is not working in our favor in some type of way. Right as the moon goes into Pisces as well, um, on Saturday around afternoon time, Saturday, yeah, around noon, the moon goes into Virgo. And this is Pacific time, by the way, noon time, Pacific time. The moon is going to square Uranus and Gemini and then oppose Mercury in Virgo as we get into the later half of the day. So that moon square Mercury, that moon in Pisces squaring Uranus and Gemini, that could be a little bit a moment of disruption or a moment of rebellion or a moment of like, if you're doing anything with the kids on Saturday, they like bring everything with them. Bring everything that you're gonna need to like navigate their badasses, okay? Because like they could be extra rebellious or they could be extra contentious or they could be very, very what do you call this? They could be very Unruly is the word. Okay. So what does the person say? Who is this? That person is so rude. Why would you say that? That is random. Anyways, I'm just gonna block them actually. Hold on, give me a second. I'm blocking this person. Report and block. Hold on, give me a second. Just doing something really quick. There we go. Okay, dealt with that. Someone said, "Oh boy, I'm babysitting my nieces on Saturday. I'll have three kids, my son, my nieces all day." So yeah, Saturday is like it's feeling a little hectic. It's feeling a little frantic. There's a lot of energy in the air on Saturday. We have the moon squaring Uranus, and the moon's also going to be opposing Mercury. So yeah, so we want to be mindful on Saturday of like our responsibilities or obligations. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves. We also want to stay very flexible with going into this eclipse and going into Pisces season. Or Pisces, I'm bad. I'm sorry. Going into eclipse season is what I meant to say. With the moon going into Pisces, things can start to feel very unstable or very, what do you call this? Very unstable, or people may even be wishy-washy. You may have plans, and someone may bail because something comes up in their family life. There could be some kind of drama or something that comes up on the weekend with the moon going to Pisces, mainly because it is our lunar eclipse. Once the moon goes into Pisces, we're feeling the eclipse that's coming up the following day on Sunday. So I just want you guys to be willing to pivot, be prepared, okay? But also take notice of like what's coming into your life because this lunar eclipse in Pisces is it's the north node side of the eclipse. We have the north node and the moon in Pisces. So this is like good. This is about this eclipse is about kind of like there's new things coming in, we're being pulled in new directions in some type of way. Okay. So then we're moving on. And then we have our eclipse on Sunday. When the moon's with the nodes, and that's our eclipse, and that's our full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. And that's going to be around, don't quote, it's going to be around 12 p.m. I don't have the exact time. It's going to be around 12 p.m. Pacific time though. Okay. Oops, sorry about that. Um, and yes, and we're jumping into the eclipse portal, right? On Sunday with the moon in Pisces, aligning with the north node of destiny, opposing the sun in Virgo and the south node in Virgo, the south node of fate. So there's this energy of fate, destiny, divine opportunity, divine reckoning, divine alignment happening starting Sunday, September 7th with our eclipse. So it's fun, it's exciting. I'm excited. I think you should be excited too. Don't dread the eclipse energy, okay? It's kind of like, I like to think of the eclipses as like a roulette table. It's like you get your dice and you just throw it and you're like, okay, let's see where it lands, right? That's kind of like how I think of the eclipses is like you don't know where it's going to spit you out, but like you're going on the ride. You could end up in like five different places and you don't know which tube you're going to end up out of, right? You're going to get spit out of, but you got to go on the ride. You got to jump, you don't know where you're going to land. So that's what it's at 15 degrees. The eclipse, someone asked when the eclipse or what degree the eclipse was at. It's at 15 degrees, which is a Gemini degree. 15 degrees. 15 degrees. Alrighty. And I think we're gonna wrap it up there. Beautiful eclipse. I'm gonna go into deets. I'm gonna go into some deets around the eclipse. Maybe I'll do that on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Maybe I'll do it. I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably do it on Wednesday or Thursday, but we'll see. Let's go back to the current one now. Oh, the rising just went into Sag. That's funny. That's so funny. The rising just went into Sagittarius, and we have Uranus on the descendant in Gemini. All right, my loves, you beautiful, handsome, gorgeous, sweet, kind, generous, loving, patient, strong, confident, capable people. I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. We gonna wrap it up here. This will be posted to the Instagram um by end of day. I'm gonna try to get it up there in the next few hours. And I just want to tell you all, I love you so much, and thank you for being so supportive of me. And I do believe that someone said, so much going on for me right now. Might be selling my apartment, might be buying a house, definitely need to get a new car, might be getting a new job, might be going on a last minute girls trip overseas. That is quite the eclipse energy that you set yourself up for. I just got on here. Blessings to you. It's 11:51. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Love you all so much. This will get posted. What was I gonna say? There was something I was gonna say. I totally forgot. But yeah, be well, take care of yourselves. Don't overwhelm yourself this week, okay? Be safe, be well, be merry, be happy, be joyous. Oh, I did say, yeah, I'm gonna try to post this to YouTube within the next couple hours. But I love you all. Thank you for oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Thank you all for supporting me. But also I do think I have a few more spots available this week if you are interested in a reading. I'm thinking about possibly doing like a 30-minute eclipse season read thing, like making that an offering. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I might add like I'll let you know my stories, okay? If I do. I might do like a shorter eclipse season read. I might add that onto my menu going into next week. So you might see it show up on the menu this week going into next week. I'm thinking about adding that. And it'll just be a reading just to kind of like go over like the eclipses and to see how the eclipses are hitting you and looking at your this kind of like Pisces Virgo nodal cycle for you. So I'm thinking about that. I don't know. We'll see. I'll see about that, okay? But I love you all. Take care. Have a beautiful blessed day. I'll see you around, okay? And have a good week. Okay? Have a good week. I'll see you. Let's go ahead.